Pick a number. Today's number is...
It's me. Ah, Series 5 and 6 of The Simpsons. They may well be my personal favourites, but they certainly wouldn't be the same without their infamous showrunner, David Lynch. Alright, let's get serious for a moment, so you can start to understand why Series 5 and 6 are indeed David Lynch's greatest work. So first of all, to get it out the way, you may be thinking, I know the showrunner for the Mirkin era. It's David Mirkin, aged 66, born and raised in Philadelphia, who intended to become an electrical engineer, and whose writing inspirations include Stanley Kubrick and Woody Allen. Oh no, that may be well and good, but clearly you're not looking close enough. When thinking about David Lynch's signature style, a few ideas come to mind. Large, empty rooms, unconventional dialogue, coffee, detective stories, flashing lights, and of course, stories that don't entirely wrap up. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize Series 3 had entered the chat. Much of this could be classified under the edgy subgenre surrealism, which is odd. And it's also odd that one crazy recluse would draw parallels between The Simpsons, as it's certainly not a surrealist piece. Well, yes and no. We're about to go back. In the Series 4 episode Homer the Heretic, after deciding to skip church, Homer's house burns down with him inside. Ned does attempt to save him, but... Afterwards, Homer goes to church and falls asleep talking to God. This is not the first time he talks to God, and in both instances, he and God are on good terms. A popular theory that spawned from this episode is that Homer actually died in the fire, and is now in some other world or state. Now let's transition to talk about psychologists and death. Specifically, Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary popularized the belief that when you die, due to the fact that you will have 8 to 12 minutes of brain activity before your heart shuts down, and your brain will release dopamine into your cognitive mind, you will most likely enter a dreamlike state. Now, many may already know that dreams only last a few seconds, so in comparison, 8 to 12 minutes may feel like an eternity. But don't worry, because dopamine, as well as having time dilation effects on the mind, is also a pleasure chemical. Also, yes, I did take this from the Eric Andre show, which by no means discredits this belief, of course.
What do you think happens when you die?
Yeah, Timothy Leary said something really cool about death. He said that...
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the most common descriptions of Lynch's work is that it replicates a dreamlike state, which is how one could describe Homer's state having died in the fire. Works such as Mulholland Drive are commonly believed to take place in a dreamlike state, or at least some of the time. Also, if you don't believe the theory that Homer died in the fire, God straight up tells him that he's gonna die in 6 months at the end of the episode. And 6 months could be the remainder of Series 4, so perhaps in the episode Krusty Gets Cancelled, Homer somehow died and is now living in an eternity of dreams and memories. Alright, now let's go through every episode of Series 5 to see how they correlate to Lynch's style, in case you don't believe me. Episode 1, Glory Days of a Bygone Time and a Critique on the Music Industry. Episode 2, Running from Your Past Mistakes and Changing Your Identity. Episode 3, Falling Prey to the Glorified Norm of What is Promoted in the Entertainment Industry. Episode 4, A Mob Mentality Hidden Under a Calm Suburban Facade.
Go to hell, you old bastard.
Episode 5, Making a Deal with the Devil. Episode 6, A Wild Chase to Escape from the Male Oppression Dominating Suburban Female Life. Episode 7, A Critique on Suppressing Your True Identity. Episode 8, this episode's literally directed by someone named Lynch. Episode 9, Deluding Your Mind as a Means of Having an Affair with Your Wife. Episode 10, A Critique on Wealth and the Effects it has on enforcing paranoia. Episode 11, Violent Repression Hidden in a Suburban Setting.
I see. Well, what do you say to the accusation that your group has been causing more crimes than it's been preventing?
Oh, kid, I'd be lying if I said my men weren't committing crimes.
Episode 12, a critique on the entertainment industry. Episode 13, losing your identity and way of life. Episode 14, this episode is literally directed by someone named Lynch, and it's a critique on role models females look up to. I'm gonna stop there, but just know I could go on. After diligently studying Series 5, I've realised the key themes that lie within are madness, oppression and repression, wealth getting you nothing, Richard Nixon, and boxes. Many of these are similar themes Lynch explores in his work, except for Nixon. He's completely irrelevant. Or is he? With the appearances he makes during the series, Nixon only says a few things.
But I'm not dead yet. In fact, I just wrote an article for Redbook.
Hey, listen, I did a favor for you.
That's right, the "but I'm not dead yet" appears kind of odd. During the air date of this Halloween episode, Richard Nixon was indeed still alive, though he would die soon in April of 1994. 6 months after this episode aired. So it would seem that in this dream state, Homer was trying to wake himself up by having a familiar face from history remind him that he wasn't dead, and he needed to wake up, otherwise he soon would be.
We're through the looking glass here, people.
It's clear that now some of the pieces are starting to come together in Lynch's style, slowly but surely slipping through the cracks. But you know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe it ends with Series 5 and Series 6 has nothing to do with... Oh, you want crime? Welcome to the Who Shot Mr. Burns series. Bam! Episode 1, Flanders is suspected of murder. Episode 2, Homer runs an underground sugar business. Episode 3, the animatronics try to kill the Simpsons. The list is endless. Series 6 is the most thematically consistent series throughout all of The Simpsons, and I don't think many will be able to dispute me on that. With the correlation of the 5th series, the next one demonstrates a natural progression. As it happens, there isn't much crime in Series 5, but in Series 6, it's everywhere. And the majority of this takes place in the suburban setting. So I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. This series does end with the first, and in my eyes, only true cliffhanger of the show. I of course refer to the question,
Hey man, are you okay?
but in all seriousness, I think we can all agree that Who Shot Mr. Burns serves as a very Lynchian climax to the 2-year-long run of Series 5 and 6. This episode perfectly encapsulates everything Lynch puts into his work. An unanswered mystery about the gunning down of a man isolated by wealth in a, say it with me, suburban setting. But what about Part 2, I hear you demand uproariously? This episode actually has a reference to Lynch's television mystery show Twin Peaks. I can't deny that. However, what separates this from the prior 2 series, which I am convinced are Lynchian portraits, is that the mystery is solved. Now, many who know Lynch's work know that he will often leave things ambiguous, or at the very least leave something up to the interpretation by giving what is needed for the audience to decipher the mystery. Though instead we are given the answer very plainly. Now, there have been videos arguing that this is not the real answer and that there is more at play. I would definitely recommend the Real Jim series on that. But as this is never questioned by the show at any point, it seems to be set in stone. Apart from the one episode where Homer says it was actually him who did it, but that joke is so inconsequential that I can't even remember the name of the episode. Furthermore, to demonstrate how Series 7, despite being a top-tier series of television as a whole, clashes with the Lynch brand, this series literally opens with a character waking up from a dream. Do you see what I'm getting at here? So, by omitting Series 7 from the mix, we are given a full dichotomy of Lynch's style. I hope I used that word right. So in summation, Series 5 and 6 of The Simpsons are indeed Lynch's best work in my eyes, as they represent all that you'd find in a typical Lynch flick. Crime, suburbia, dreams of the past and future, boxes, and so on. Anyway, if you take anything away from this video, it's that you're in a dream right now, and you should probably wake up. One, you're mere general. That's it. You have seen filming in it. Yes, you win it.